Welcome to OOTO TV, the out-of-the-office investigation into the present state of personal health actualization. This time we're discussing high blood pressure causes, treatments, and diet. This is, I think, one of the most critical health topics we could talk about.
It really is.
High blood pressure, or hypertension, is so often called the silent killer.
Yeah.
And that's because for so many people, there are absolutely zero symptoms.
Right. You feel fine even while it's actively doing serious damage to your entire vascular system.
Exactly. So today we're analyzing the best methods beyond just medicine to really get it under control.
That's the mission. We're going to define what this chronic condition actually is. We'll explore the vital role of lifestyle, especially something called the DASH diet, which is backed by a ton of data.
And we'll evaluate how all these choices, diet, activity, stress, affect not just our physical health, but our mental well-being too.
That connection is key.
Yeah, it really is. That's what I find so fascinating. So how can diet and addressing high blood pressure causes really affect our mental and physical health?
Well, it's a foundational link. When you look at the source material, these lifestyle changes, they do more than just lower a number. They significantly reduce inflammation across your whole body.
So it's systemic.
It is.
Yeah.
You're removing that constant chronic strain on your blood vessels. And that vascular stability is absolutely critical for preventing things down the road, especially conditions like vascular dementia.
So cleaner, more consistent blood flow to the brain is directly supporting our cognitive function.
You got it. And emotional resilience, too. It's all connected.
Okay, so before we get into the solutions,
Right.
what are the key elements for diagnosing and understanding high blood pressure? We need to know what numbers we're even talking about.
Right. It all comes down to those two numbers you get at the doctor's office, systolic and diastolic.
The top number and the bottom number.
Exactly. Systolic, the top one, is the force when your heart is actively pumping blood out. And diastolic, the bottom, that's the pressure when your heart relaxes between beats.
And they both tell a different part of the story.
A different but equally essential story about the strain on your heart.
And that frames our whole investigation, really. Can diet, supplements, or medicine ultimately improve our heart health while supporting physical optimum performance?
The evidence points overwhelmingly to yes, but, and this is a big but, it has to be a cohesive, holistic approach.
It's not just one thing.
Never. Lifestyle changes are the bedrock. They can often delay or even reduce the need for medication. But for a lot of people, the best long-term strategy is a smart combination of all of them, tailored by a professional.
Okay, let's get into those numbers, starting with the U.S. standards. Normal is, what, less than 120 over 80?
Correct. Less than 120 over 80, you're in the clear. The trouble starts right after that.
So what's next?
Once you hit 120 to 129 on that top number, the systolic, but the bottom number stays below 80, that's categorized as elevated.
Not quite hypertension, but a warning sign.
A very bright yellow warning sign. It means you need to start paying attention. Hypertension itself starts at stage 1.
And that is?
That's a pressure of 130 or higher on top, or 80 or higher on the bottom.
So it could be just one of them.
Yes. And then stage 2, which is more severe, is 140 or higher systolic, or 90 or higher diastolic.
It's interesting, the European standard is a little different, right? A bit higher.
It is, yeah. Their stage 1 starts at 140 over 90, but the core principle is the same.
Which is that hypertension is chronically elevated pressure. It's that constant, relentless strain.
Day in, day out, that's what does the damage. That constant force is making your heart work overtime, pushing blood through vessels that are getting stiffer and stiffer.
And that sustained force, I mean, the consequences are pretty catastrophic.
They are. We think of the big sudden events, a stroke or a heart attack, heart failure.
Right. But it's also a slower, quieter kind of damage, too.
Absolutely. It damages all the tiny vessels in your kidneys and your eyes, which leads to kidney disease, vision loss, and critically, that cognitive impairment we talked about, vascular dementia.
You're literally starving your brain of what it needs to function.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So when we look at the causes, some things we just can't change. The uncontrollables.
Yeah, things like age. As we get older, our vessels just naturally get stiffer. And genetics, of course.
If it runs in your family.
Then your risk is higher. Salt sensitivity, for instance, can be genetic. Race is also a factor. It's often more common and more severe in Black adults.
But then there's the other side of the coin, the empowering side. The huge list of controllable factors.
This is where we can take action every single day. We're talking about diet, first and foremost.
Cutting back on salt. Getting enough potassium.
Right. Moderating alcohol, quitting smoking or vaping, getting more active.
And the ones we always forget, managing stress and getting good quality sleep.
They are just as crucial.
Which brings us to a key point. Understanding and identifying high blood pressure and making healthy daily choices for diet, behaviors, and medical care is critical to our physical and mental health and recovery from hypertension.
That intentionality is everything. And it's not just a nice idea. The data is overwhelming on this.
Tell me about that.
I mean, we have to emphasize how profound even a small change can be. If you can lower your systolic blood pressure, that top number, by just 5 points.
Just 5 millimeters of mercury.
That's it. A 5-point drop gives you a 15% reduction in your risk of stroke and a 10% reduction in your risk of heart disease. Every single point counts.
You're listening to OOTO-TV with research by author Paul Bullo.
So if we know how the pressure works, where do we get the most leverage to change it? I'm guessing that takes us right to diet.
It does. The absolute gold standard here is what's called the DSH diet.
DASH. That stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension.
Exactly. And this isn't some fad. It is clinically proven to lower high blood pressure by up to 11 points.
11? That's incredible. That's basically the same as a single medication.
It's a staggering result from just changing how you eat. And its power comes from being rich in 3 key minerals: potassium, calcium, and magnesium.
And it's all about whole foods, right? Whole grains, fruits, vegetables.
Yep. Low-fat dairy, lean proteins like fish and poultry.
And just as important is what it limits.
Right. It aggressively cuts back on added sugar, saturated fats from things like fatty meats, and of course the big one, salt.
Which brings us to what you call the sodium paradox. This is where people get confused.
It really is. We hear so much conflicting advice. Some say salt doesn't matter that much.
Oh.
What does the evidence actually show for someone who already has hypertension?
The nuance is everything here. Look, for someone who isn't salt sensitive and has normal blood pressure, maybe moderate salt is fine, but the source material is crystal clear on this, which is if you already have hypertension, too much sodium is absolutely an enemy. It constricts your blood vessels and drives your pressure up, period.
So what's the target?
The general limit is 2,300 milligrams a day, but the ideal for most adults with high blood pressure is actually 1,500.
And it's really hard to hit.
It's incredibly hard. And here's why. It's not the salt shaker on your dinner table. That's a tiny fraction.
It's the hidden salt.
Exactly. An estimated 80% of our sodium comes from processed foods, canned goods, and especially from restaurant food.
So you really have to become a label reader. You have to cook at home to have any real control.
You do. And we have this amazing real-world example of what's possible, the Finnish study.
Oh, this is fascinating.
Yeah. Finland, as a country, decided to reduce salt in their food supply. Sodium intake dropped by 30%. And that led to an average 10-point drop in systolic blood pressure across the whole population.
Wow. And the health outcomes?
This is the stunning part. For middle-aged people, there was an 80% decrease in deaths from heart attack and stroke.
80%.
Yeah.
That shows the power of changing the environment.
It's massive.
Okay, so if sodium is the problem, you said potassium is the antidote.
It's the functional antidote, yeah. It helps relax your blood vessel walls, and it helps your kidneys push out excess sodium.
So how much should we be aiming for?
Around 3,500 to 5,000 milligrams a day. That alone can lower your blood pressure by 4 to 5 points.
And we find it in things like bananas, of course, but also
Avocados, sweet potatoes, especially with the skin on spinach, beans, oranges, all nutrient powerhouses.
But there's a big caution here, right?
A very important one. Anyone with existing kidney problems or anyone on certain medications that make your body hold on to potassium, you must talk to your doctor before you start loading up on it.
Got it. So this brings us back to that mind-body connection. When you adopt a diet like DSH, you are fundamentally lowering systemic inflammation.
Yes. That physical stability translates directly to mental stability. When you manage things like cholesterol and blood sugar through your diet, you're protecting blood flow to the brain.
You're actively safeguarding cognitive function and preventing that vascular dementia we keep mentioning.
It's all one integrated system.
Which is why we can say that high blood pressure suggests our body's health is connected to our diet, actions, nutrition, sunlight, fresh air, personal energy, and our clarity routine of alignment of our actions, words, and thoughts.
You're listening to OOTO TV with research by author Paul Bullo.
So let's expand beyond the diet. What about other lifestyle factors? Weight seems like a huge one.
It's one of the most effective things you can do. The data shows that for about every 2 pounds you lose, your blood pressure can drop by 1 point.
And it matters where you carry that weight.
It matters a lot. The risk for high blood pressure is much higher if a man's waist is over 40 inches or a woman's is over 35 inches. That central obesity puts a huge strain on the heart.
Then there's exercise. The standard guideline is 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity a week.
Right, things like brisk walking, jogging, swimming. That alone can lower your blood pressure by a pretty significant 5 to 8 points.
But there's some new data that's really interesting here.
Yes. This is pretty exciting. Emerging research suggests that isometric exercises, so static holds like a wall squat or a plank, might actually be even more effective.
More effective than running.
Potentially, yes. Maybe lowering systolic pressure by up to 8 points. The theory is that the intense but temporary squeeze on the blood vessels, followed by the release, creates this big rush of nitric oxide, which makes the vessels much more flexible.
That is a fantastic, actionable tip, and it really underlines this point. Managing diet, nutrition, fats, exercise, and sleep routine aligns our bodies to a healthy environment for a healthy heart, for both mental and physical success.
They all reinforce each other, and we have to talk about sleep and stress.
The two that so often get pushed aside.
Exactly. Adults need 7 to 9 hours a night. Consistently getting less than 7 is clearly linked to developing hypertension. And conditions like sleep apnea are a major cause of what's called resistant hypertension.
And resistant hypertension is when your blood pressure stays high even when you're on multiple medications, right?
Correct. It means it's really hard to control. And sleep apnea makes it worse by spiking your pressure all night long.
In stress.
Chronic stress is a big contributor, especially because of how we cope with it, Stress, eating, drinking more, smoking.
The unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Right. And stress reduction techniques themselves, like meditation or mindfulness, they are proven to lower blood pressure by about 5 points.
Okay, what about substances? Smoking, alcohol?
Well, smoking or vaping instantly raises your blood pressure and damages your arteries, full stop. And limiting alcohol, ideally 1 drink for women, 2 for men, that can lower your pressure by about 4 points.
So these are all immediate daily actions you can take.
Absolutely. Which leads us to monitoring. You have to track this at home.
Why is that so important?
Because it's often more accurate. A lot of people get white coat hypertension.
They get anxious at the doctor's office and their pressure spikes.
Exactly. So an automated arm cuff at home gives you a much truer picture of what's going on day to day.
And if all these changes still aren't enough, that's when medication comes in.
That's the next step. And the reality is many patients will need 2 or more medications to get to that goal of 130/80. But, and this is key, the lifestyle changes can delay that or reduce how much medication you need.
But you have to do it with your doctor. No going off meds on your own.
Never. This must be managed by a clinician.
And for those really tough resistant cases, there are even newer options, right?
There are things like the Simplicity procedure or renal denervation. It's a minimally invasive procedure that quiets some of the overactive nerves around the kidney arteries. It's an amazing option for patients who are struggling to get their pressure under control.
We've covered so much ground here, but the core message seems so clear and, frankly, so empowering.
It is. High blood pressure is highly manageable. It just takes consistent daily effort with your diet, your behavior, and sticking with your medical plan.
It's that overall health mindset. That high blood pressure health mindset can be linked to an overall healthy body.
Exactly. When you take charge of these things, your diet, your treatments, you improve your emotional and physical stability, you reduce inflammation, and you really support your body's ability to regenerate and stay healthy.
So to summarize our investigation then, can diet, supplements, or medicine improve heart health while supporting physical optimum performance?
Absolutely. The source material couldn't be clearer. The best, most lasting health outcomes come from a strategic, holistic combination of all of it. Diet, activity, stress management, and, when you need it, medical support.
The internal environment you create is what matters most.
It's largely within your control.
As we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought. We've established how vital exercise, diet, and stress management are.
The pillars of a healthy lifestyle.
Right. But there's this one other element that might surprise you. A small study showed that the blood pressure lowering effect of adopting a pet, specifically a dog,
The dog?
was greater than the effect of some standard blood pressure medications.
That's incredible.
It is. So just think about the unique, powerful ways that things like companionship, responsibility, and those built-in daily routines like having to take a dog for a walk, think about how that affects your cardiovascular health as you integrate all these other changes into your life.
It just speaks volumes about that deep connection between our emotional world and our physical well-being. A really powerful thought.